Tom wiped the sweat from his forehead as he arranged the last of his spice bottles on the gleaming metal shelf. His restaurant, Earth Flavors, was the first human establishment on Starbase Alpha, and today was its grand opening. After 6 months of paperwork, safety inspections, and countless meetings with alien health officials, he was finally ready to introduce the galaxy to real Earth cuisine. The restaurant's location in the diplomatic sector of the massive space station guaranteed plenty of curious alien visitors. Tom had spent weeks modifying his recipes to accommodate various alien digestive systems, but he refused to compromise on one thing: the authentic taste of Earth's spices. As he finished his preparations, a soft chime indicated someone at the door. Tom looked up to see a group of tall, blue-skinned aliens entering his restaurant. The Blux were well known across the galaxy for their refined taste buds and diplomatic skills. Their silver uniforms sparkled under the restaurant's warm lighting. "Welcome to Earth Flavors," Tom called out with a bright smile. "You must be the diplomatic delegation I was told about." The tallest Blux stepped forward, his antenna twitching with interest. "Indeed. I am Ambassador White, and these are my colleagues. We have heard fascinating things about Earth cuisine and wish to experience it firsthand." Tom led them to a specially designed table that accommodated their tall frames. "I've prepared a selection of Earth dishes that are safe for Blux consumption. Would you like me to explain each dish?" The aliens nodded eagerly, their large eyes fixed on the decorative chili peppers hanging on the wall. Dr. Blue, their medical officer, pulled out a scanning device. "These red pods, our database says they are some form of plant matter." "Those are chili peppers," Tom explained, trying not to laugh at their intense scrutiny. "They're one of Earth's most popular spices. They contain a compound called capsaicin that creates a sensation of heat when eaten." The aliens exchanged confused looks. Ambassador White's antenna drooped slightly. "Heat? You mean these plants raise body temperature?" No, Tom chuckled. "They create a sensation that feels like heat, but it's actually just stimulating certain nerve receptors. It's completely safe. Humans eat them every day for pleasure." Dr. Blue's scanner whirred as he analyzed the peppers. Fascinating and disturbing. Why would any species deliberately consume something that causes pain? Tom brought out a tray of appetizers. "It's not exactly pain, more like excitement for our taste buds. Here, I've prepared some very mild dishes to start with. This is hummus with just a tiny pinch of paprika, a very gentle spice." The aliens carefully examined the creamy dip. Ambassador White was the first to try it, touching his long blue tongue to the smallest possible amount. His eyes widened immediately. "By the stars," he exclaimed, his antenna standing straight up. "There's a tingling. Is this the heat you mentioned?" Tom tried not to smile too broadly. "That's just paprika. It's one of our mildest spices. Wait until you try actual hot peppers. There are stronger ones." Dr. Blue looked horrified. His scanner now focused on the hummus, and humans consume these voluntarily. "Some humans even compete to eat the spiciest peppers possible," Tom said proudly. "We have competitions and special challenges. Some people train for years to build up their tolerance." The entire Blux delegation stared at him in shocked silence. Finally, Ambassador White spoke, his voice filled with a mixture of horror and respect. "Your species deliberately builds tolerance to pain-inducing substances for entertainment. And don't forget taste." Tom added cheerfully, "Would anyone like to try the mild curry?" The news spread quickly through the space station. By evening, aliens of various species were peeking through the restaurant's windows, watching in fascination as humans casually consumed food that their scanners identified as mildly toxic. Tom's restaurant became the talk of the station, and he knew this was just the beginning of the galaxy's introduction to humanity's unique relationship with spicy food. Word of Tom's restaurant spread like wildfire through Starbase Alpha. 2 weeks after the opening, his small establishment was packed with aliens from different species, all curious about the infamous spicy human food. Some came just to watch humans eat, while others bravely requested the mildest items on the menu. Today was different. A large group of young Blux diplomats had gathered at the central table, led by Junior Ambassador Red, who had been boasting about his brave palate. Tom watched them with amusement as he prepared orders in the kitchen. "I've studied human physiology extensively," Red announced to his companions, his blue skin practically glowing with confidence. "Their tolerance for capsaicin must be partially psychological. If they can handle it, so can we." Dr. Blue, who had become a regular visitor mostly to warn others about the dangers of human food, rushed to their table. "This is highly inadvisable. Our taste receptors are 3 times more sensitive than humans." Red waved away the concern. "Doctor, how can we claim to be the galaxy's best diplomats if we can't handle a simple human meal? Besides, I've started with their mild dishes and felt only slight discomfort." Tom approached their table, trying to keep a straight face. "What can I get for you today, gentlemen?" Red stood up, his antenna held high with pride. "I wish to try your medium spicy curry, the one I see human children eating." A hush fell over the restaurant. Even aliens who didn't understand spice levels knew about the infamous medium rating. Dr. Blue's scanner started beeping frantically. "Are you sure?" Tom asked seriously. "Maybe we should start with mild plus." No, Red insisted. "I've been practicing with the mild dishes. I'm ready for this challenge. My research indicates that human children can eat medium spicy food, so surely a trained diplomat can handle it." Tom nodded slowly. "All right, but I'll bring some dairy products with it. They help neutralize the heat if it becomes too much." He returned to the kitchen, carefully preparing a curry that was actually between mild and medium, despite Red's request. The dish arrived steaming, its rich orange color drawing gasps from the watching crowd. Red's antenna twitched as he sniffed the curry, his colleagues watching with a mixture of horror and admiration. "The color indicates danger," one Blux whispered, but Red ignored them. With a dramatic flourish, he took a large spoonful and put it in his mouth. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Red looked triumphant. Then his antenna shot straight up. His blue skin turned almost white. His large eyes began watering. "G-A-A-A-A-A-A-A." Red jumped up, frantically fanning his mouth. "Water. Need water." "No, drink this." Tom quickly handed him a glass of milk. "Water will make it worse." The other diplomats watched in shock as their colleague gulped down the milk, then yogurt, then a whole bowl of rice. Dr. Blue's scanner was making sounds no one had heard before. How do humans eat this for pleasure?" Red gasped between gulps of milk. His antennae were drooping, and his pride was clearly wounded. "And this isn't even their spiciest option." Tom patted him on the back sympathetically. "Actually, this was milder than what you ordered. I adjusted it for safety." Red's eyes widened in horror. "Milder? You mean it gets worse than this? And humans choose to eat it?" A human customer sitting nearby cheerfully waved her extra hot curry at him. "Want to try some of mine?" Red almost fainted. The incident became an instant legend on the space station. Videos of the brave Blux diplomats' spicy food challenge spread across galactic social media. But something unexpected happened. Instead of dampening alien interest in human food, it increased it. More species became curious about this strange human ability to enjoy pain food. Tom had to hire more staff to handle the crowds. His restaurant wasn't just serving food anymore. It had become a place where aliens could safely explore one of humanity's most peculiar traits. And somewhere in the station's medical bay, Dr. Blue was still trying to explain to his superiors how humans could possibly enjoy something that his scanners insisted was a defensive plant toxin. A month after Council Member Green's ghost pepper incident, Tom's restaurant became more than just a dining establishment. The Federation had set up a small research station right next door, led by Professor Gray, a renowned xenobiologist who had become fascinated by humanity's unique relationship with spicy food. "The data is extraordinary," Professor Gray announced one morning, bursting into Earth flavors before opening hours. The scientist's tentacles were waving with excitement, holding multiple data tablets. "We've been studying the wrong thing all along." Tom looked up from his prep work, used to the professor's sudden appearances by now. "What do you mean?" Everyone focused on the capsaicin tolerance, but that's not the interesting part. Professor Gray's eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of excitement in his species. "It's how humans deliberately seek out this sensation. No other known species does this." The professor set up his equipment at what had become his usual table. Over the past weeks, he had observed hundreds of humans eating spicy food, recording their reactions and conducting interviews. Today, he had brought a new device that looked like a glowing brain scanner. "Tom, we need volunteers for a new study," the professor announced as the first customers began arriving. "We want to scan human brains while they eat spicy food." Word spread quickly through the station, and soon a line of humans formed, eager to participate in the study. Each volunteer sat at the professor's table, wearing the scanner while eating increasingly spicy dishes. "Fascinating," Professor Gray exclaimed, watching the scanner's display. "Their pleasure centers are activating alongside their pain receptors. It's like their brains are rewiring pain into enjoyment." Dr. Blue, who had appointed himself the station's spice safety officer, hovered nearby with his medical scanner. "But how is this possible? Pain is a warning signal. No species should enjoy it." The breakthrough came when they tested Kelly, a human chef who worked with Tom. As she happily ate the ghost pepper curry, both scanners went crazy. "Look at these readings." Professor Gray's tentacles were practically tying themselves in knots with excitement. "Her body is releasing endorphins, natural pain blockers. But there's more. Her cellular structure is actually adapting in real time." Tom watched as more data filled the professor's screens. "Is that unusual?" "Unusual." Dr. Blue's antenna stood straight up. "It's unprecedented. Most species either avoid harmful substances or slowly develop tolerance over generations. Humans can adapt within their own lifetime." Professor Gray was frantically recording everything. "This could explain so much about human history. Your species survived on a planet with constantly changing conditions, predators, and food sources. You didn't just endure change. You learned to enjoy it." The research continued throughout the day. Each human volunteer showed similar patterns, though their spice tolerance levels varied. Some enjoyed mild spices, others craved extreme heat, but all showed the same basic adaptation mechanism. By closing time, the professor's table was covered in data tablets, empty spicy dishes, and amazed alien observers. Even Dr. Blue had stopped warning people about spice dangers and was instead taking detailed medical notes. "We need to revise everything we thought we knew about human physiology," Professor Gray declared. "Your species isn't just tolerating these substances, you're actively evolving to enjoy them. It's like watching rapid evolution in action." The professor's preliminary report to the Federation caused a sensation. Alien scientists began arriving at the station daily, eager to study what they now called the human spice phenomenon. Some even started theorizing that this adaptability might explain other human traits, like their ability to thrive in different environments or their quick recovery from injuries. Tom had to add a new section to his restaurant, a research area where scientists could observe humans enjoying their meals. He also started offering special tasting menus designed specifically for the studies. "You know what's funny?" Tom said to Professor Gray one evening. "All this scientific interest started because humans just really like spicy food." The professor's tentacles waved in amusement. "That's exactly what makes it so remarkable. Your species turned a defense mechanism into a source of pleasure. Now, can you make that ghost pepper curry again? I have some new sensors I want to test." In his medical office, Dr. Blue finally updated his warning signs. "Spicy food, a uniquely human experience. Do not attempt without proper scientific supervision." The growing interest in human spice tolerance led to an unexpected announcement. Starbase Alpha would host the first interstellar culinary competition. The station's central hall was transformed into a massive arena filled with cooking stations, and participants from 20 different species had signed up. Tom stood at his assigned station, arranging his spices and ingredients. Next to him, Kelly was helping set up their equipment. They were the only humans competing, as most alien species had declined to participate in the spicy category. Remember, Professor Gray called from the judges' area, where he sat with his research equipment. This is a chance to demonstrate human culinary adaptability to the whole galaxy. The competition had 3 categories: traditional cuisine, creative fusion, and the most talked about category, Spice Masters. Tom had entered all 3, though most aliens were betting he would only win the spicy category by default. First round begins, announced the head judge, a floating creature known for having the most sophisticated taste buds in the galaxy. Traditional cuisine. Contestants have 2 hours. Tom worked steadily, preparing his grandmother's secret recipe for beef stew. Around him, aliens created dishes using everything from glowing crystals to living plants, the air filled with strange and wonderful smells. Time's up. Present your dishes. The judges moved from station to station, their reactions varying from delight to confusion. When they reached Tom's stew, they paused. "We detect mild spices," one judge noted, their sensory tentacles waving. "Yes," Tom smiled. Traditional human cooking often uses spices for flavor, not just heat. This has black pepper, thyme, and a tiny bit of paprika. To everyone's surprise, the judges loved it. The spices enhanced the other flavors without overwhelming them, they announced. Tom won second place, behind only a chef whose dish literally glowed with happiness. The creative fusion round proved even more interesting. Tom combined Earth techniques with alien ingredients, creating a dish he called stellar curry. He used bioluminescent space algae and a sweet root from the Blux homeworld, combined with a mild curry sauce. Dr. Blue, who was monitoring the competition for safety, actually asked for seconds. But the real excitement came during the Spice Masters round. While most alien contestants had withdrawn, Red, the young Blux diplomat from the curry incident, surprisingly stayed in. "I've been training," Red announced proudly, his antenna now fitted with tiny heat shields. "I can handle mild spices now." The round began, and Tom carefully prepared his signature dish, Galaxy Fire Chili, a recipe he had specifically designed to be adjustable for different species' spice tolerances. The secret, he explained to the watching crowd, is making it flavorful first, spicy second. Every species should be able to enjoy it at their own level. When judging time came, Tom presented 5 versions of his chili, ranging from stellar mild to supernova hot. He had carefully labeled each one and included detailed spice level warnings. Red bravely tried the mildest version and managed to eat an entire spoonful without running to the milk station. The judges were impressed not just by the taste, but by the inclusivity of Tom's approach. Professor Gray, who had been recording everything, was ecstatic. "See, humans don't just handle spice. They've developed ways to share their food culture safely with others." The competition ended with Tom winning the Spice Masters category, naturally, 3rd place in creative fusion, and his surprise 2nd place in traditional cuisine. But the real winner was interstellar cultural exchange. After the competition, several alien restaurants on the station started offering human-inspired mild spicy options. Red even began hosting spice tolerance training sessions for adventurous diplomats, though Dr. Blue insisted on supervising each session. "You know what's really interesting?" Kelly said as they cleaned up their station. "We came here thinking we'd just share Earth food, but we've ended up sharing something bigger, our ability to adapt and help others adapt too." Tom nodded, watching aliens and humans mingling, sharing stories, and trying each other's food. The competition had turned into exactly what the station was meant to be, a place where different species could come together and learn from each other. And if some of that learning involved aliens carefully trying tiny bites of mildly spiced food while Professor Gray excitedly recorded data, well, that was just part of the fun. The success of the cooking competition had drawn even more attention to Starbase Alpha. Professor Gray's research team had grown from a small corner next to Tom's restaurant to an entire laboratory complex. Scientists from across the galaxy arrived daily, all eager to study what they now called the spice effect. One quiet morning, as Tom was preparing his kitchen for the day, an urgent message arrived. Professor Gray needed him in the lab immediately. When he arrived, he found the lab buzzing with excitement. "We found it." Professor Gray's tentacles were moving so fast, they were almost a blur. "After studying thousands of human samples, we finally understand why you can handle spicy food." The lab's main screen showed complex DNA structures rotating slowly. Dr. Blue stood nearby, his antenna twitching as he studied the medical readings. "Look here," Professor Gray pointed to a glowing section of DNA. "Humans have a unique genetic sequence that doesn't just help you tolerate capsaicin. It helps you adapt to almost anything." Tom looked at the display, pretending he understood the complex diagrams. "What does that mean exactly?" Dr. Blue stepped forward, his medical scanner humming. "It means your species is extraordinary. When most species encounter something harmful, they either avoid it or suffer. But humans—" He paused dramatically. "Humans adapt and then ask for more." Professor Gray pulled up more images on the screen. They showed human cells before and after exposure to spicy food. "Your cells don't just protect themselves from the capsaicin. They actually get stronger. It's like exercising a muscle." The discovery sparked a new wave of research. Teams of scientists began studying other unique human behaviors through this lens. They found similar adaptation patterns in human reactions to extreme temperatures, high gravity, and even unusual foods. "But why did humans develop this trait?" asked Yellow, a new researcher who had joined the team. Tom thought about the hot peppers growing in the station's hydroponic garden. "Maybe because Earth has so many different environments and challenges. Our ancestors had to adapt to survive." Professor Gray's eyes lit up. "Exactly. Your planet's diverse conditions forced your species to become adaptable. But you didn't stop at just surviving. You turned these challenges into opportunities for enjoyment." The professor pulled up historical data about Earth. "Look at human history. You've taken dangerous things and turned them into pleasures. Spicy food, extreme sports, intense exercises. You seek out challenges that would terrify other species." News of the discovery spread quickly through the station. The Federation's Science Council called an emergency meeting to discuss its implications. If humans could adapt so quickly to something as intense as capsaicin, what else could they handle? Tom's restaurant became even busier, but now it wasn't just about the food. Aliens came to observe humans eating, fascinated by this demonstration of adaptive ability. Some brave souls, inspired by the research, even started their own spice tolerance training programs. Red, who had continued his spice training, proudly showed off his ability to eat medium-mild curry without turning pale. "It's still challenging," he admitted, "but now I understand why humans enjoy the sensation. It's about pushing boundaries." Dr. Blue, who had once warned everyone about the dangers of spicy food, now gave lectures about human adaptability, though he still kept his medical scanner ready, just in case. The most remarkable thing, Professor Gray told a group of visiting scientists, is that humans developed this ability naturally, through evolution. They didn't engineer it. They just kept challenging themselves until adaptation became part of their nature. Tom stood in his kitchen that evening, looking at his wall of spices. Each bottle now had a small scientific label showing its Scoville rating and potential effects on different species. What had started as a simple restaurant had become part of a larger discovery about human nature. "You know what this means," Kelly said, preparing orders. "We're not just cooking anymore. We're helping the galaxy understand humanity." Professor Gray's final report to the Federation summed it up perfectly. In human spice tolerance, we see not just a dietary preference, but a window into the extraordinary adaptability that makes humans unique in the galaxy. They don't just survive challenges, they turn them into celebrations. And somewhere in the station, another alien was carefully trying their first bite of mildly spiced food, taking one small step toward understanding human resilience. 1 year after Tom first opened Earth Flavors on Starbase Alpha, the station had changed completely. His small restaurant had grown into a cultural center, with the original dining area now surrounded by a spice research lab, a cultural exchange hub, and even a human adaptation training center. Today was special. The Federation was holding an official ceremony to recognize the impact of human spice culture on galactic society. The station's main hall was packed with representatives from every known species. "Who would have thought," Tom said to Kelly as they prepared special dishes for the ceremony, "that some hot peppers would change how the galaxy sees humans?" The ceremony began with Council Member Green, still remembered for his ghost pepper incident, making the opening speech. "A year ago, we thought humans were just oddly resistant to pain. Now we understand they represent something more: the power to adapt, to grow, and to help others do the same." Professor Gray presented his latest research findings. His laboratory displays showed how various alien species were slowly developing their own spice tolerance through careful training. While no species can match human adaptability, he explained, many can learn to enjoy mild spices with proper preparation. Red stepped forward next, proudly wearing his new title, Interspecies Spice Training Coordinator. His antenna, still equipped with heat shields, twitched excitedly as he spoke. "When I first tried human spicy food, I thought it was madness," Red admitted. "Now I understand it's about pushing boundaries safely. My training program has helped 50 diplomats develop tolerance for mild spices. Small steps, but important ones." Dr. Blue, who had finally stopped carrying his emergency medical scanner everywhere, presented the new safety guidelines he had developed. "We've learned that with proper precautions, many species can explore human-level experiences safely." The station's success had inspired changes across the galaxy. Other space stations had opened their own Earth restaurants. Alien cooking shows now featured special episodes about human spices. Some brave alien chefs had even started creating their own spicy fusion dishes. Ambassador Black announced the biggest news. The Federation has officially recognized human adaptability as a vital trait for future space exploration. "When we encounter new challenges, we'll look to humans for guidance on how to adapt." Tom's restaurant had become more than just a place to eat. It was now a training ground where aliens could practice human-style adaptation in a safe environment. The menu now included training-level spicy dishes, designed to help other species gradually build tolerance. But the most important change, Kelly said during her speech, isn't about spice at all. It's about understanding that differences between species can bring us together instead of keeping us apart. Professor Gray's newest research supported this. His studies showed that species working together to understand human spice tolerance had developed better diplomatic relations. "Sharing challenges creates bonds," he explained. "Even if an alien never learns to eat spicy food, the attempt to understand it creates connection." Red demonstrated this by hosting a live first taste session where brave aliens tried mild spices while humans offered encouragement and support. The sight of different species helping each other try new experiences became a symbol of galactic cooperation. As the ceremony ended, Tom looked around his packed restaurant. Humans and aliens sat together, sharing meals and stories. Some aliens proudly showed off their growing spice tolerance, while others simply enjoyed watching their braver friends attempt spicy dishes. "You've created something remarkable here," Professor Gray told Tom, his tentacles gesturing at the diverse crowd. "This isn't just about food anymore. It's about showing the galaxy that challenges can bring out the best in all species." Dr. Blue, sampling a slightly spicy dish, nodded in agreement. "Who would have thought that human spice tolerance would teach us so much about adaptation, cooperation, and growth?" The station's new motto, displayed proudly at its main entrance, summed it up perfectly. Adaptation through understanding, where different species grow together. And in Tom's kitchen, next to the original chili pepper that had started it all, hung a new sign. Spice level. As hot as you dare to grow. The galaxy would never see humans, or spicy food, the same way again.